the whole world, I think now is kind of watching just how this plays out. So where are you at in your understanding of this? Because I'll start by saying a lot of people I think that I've started to talk to about this think you have to have a more involved idea of finance than I think you actually do for this. So where are
Yeah,
you at?
I don't think it's that like I haven't like I watched it from afar. I haven't like because I felt like by the time I saw it, it was too late to like invest in anything. So I was just like, all right, this is pretty cool. People coming up, you know what I mean? Regular people just
Yeah.
coming up on the Wall Street crowd. So I mean, getting over on them, like that's pretty cool to me. But like I figured like once it's by the time I saw it and like read articles and stuff, I was like, all right, it's kind of too late to like try to
Yeah.
invest anything. So I was like, all right, that's cool. People want to come up. So
So I got word of this from Twitter, and what this at the core of it was a test of where your gauge of hearing is of if something is said at the core of the internet. If a tree drops at the core of the internet, when do you hear it? That's essentially what this was a test of, because it started on Reddit, which is the
right,
deepest, diviest core of the internet you can really go to.
right,
And but it's a collective. Like it's organized. There are people
yeah,
that
it's
have
like
put years into this shit.
yeah, their own little
And and so it started before I got wave of it. I was not even on the initial wave of it. This started with GameStop, and this started months ago.
right.
The only real financial thing this requires knowledge of is what a short is. Shorting is essentially betting against a stock. All you need to know
And
is
that's all the Wall Street guys. That's what they were doing, right?
yes. So there were
Initially,
hedge funds, which are essentially just collective chunks of money, which are just big
right,
blobs of money, that were during the pandemic shorting brick and mortar stores
right, yeah,
overall,
like
because
GameStop
logically,
and
like
yeah,
they're on their way out, pandemic's gonna fuck them. But what this ties into, and what where I think our generation and millennials, I think took a head on this, was the idea that there is a setup in the financial institution that allows people to profit from purposefully betting on the failure and kind of you can almost cause what you bet on by tanking the stock. There's lots of ways from the inside they can do this by selling it low to manipulate it and other people into selling, because when you see a share price, that's just the last transaction. I've a lot of this shit I've learned in the last week. My dad, just for background in all of this, because I've had conversation with him, worked at the Board of Trade in Chicago for like 20 years. My grandfather's been involved with stock shit longer than I've been fucking alive. So I've talked to them. I've got some generational feedback on this. I've had arguments. I've pushed back on things I think they're wrong on, because I think there's a big overhaul in everybody's perspective on this shit. But so just to kind of put into perspective where that was at. So I catch wave of this on Twitter, in terms of the AMC thing. So what had already happened was with the brick and mortar shorts, the people on Reddit had seen this, especially with GameStop is where it took its head. They went, all right, there are these huge shorts involved on GameStop. They're trying to purposefully shit on our brand. What
yeah,
you can do to fuck over a short, and what was impossible without social media, and this is one of the coming to Jesus moments that's happening in this, is the financial world is recognizing the power of social media, which we've known this as a generation for a long time. I think a lot of this has to do with a lot of the money moving in what we call the market is not millennial money. How many motherfuckers do we know that have any type of money to be involved in the market? Not that many. Maybe some artists are close to our age. Maybe some people in the league are close to our age. But it's not something that has been financially feasible for the common millennial. It's just not where we
yeah,
were set up with the economies that we were handed. So I think the fact that these people have clung to that money and refused to accept, okay, social media is something I need to pay attention to in terms of the stock market. There was a blind side that happened because they, like all boomers, I mean, think about growing up. We've been told the internet, stay off it, get off your phone. Really, we should have been taught how to use our phones instead of being told how to get off of them and pay attention to whatever dated bullshit we were paying attention to in high school. If we're being
well,
real.
that's a different argument to
But
that, but
no, but it all
that's
does
a
tie together,
different
because
that's
I
a
think the denial of that generation to learn this, like I have had paid roles where I've basically been forced for a boomer, something they should be able to know how to do, to manage a bunch of social media accounts that they don't want to learn how the hashtag. I don't know how. That's how they are. They just went, I don't want to know how to do it. Most of them are struggling at email. That's where I'd probably put the average boomer. You probably got a solid grasp of email and you feel confident because of it, and good for you. But Twitter and Reddit and these are foreign worlds. These are completely foreign worlds to the average boomer. It's not something they've ever had to invest in. And so what happened was, because of this complete blindside area on Reddit, they saw this. They said, and this is the first time this has ever happened in the financial world, they came together and said, well, the way to fight a short, if you want to fuck over the millionaire people that said GameStop is going to go from $10 a share to $4 a share, you shoot the stock up. Right. Now, as I saw a beautiful metaphor on this, it helped me understand this. Now, what a short is, and this has become part of the lingo. Reddit's got its own language. I'm an outsider looking in. I picked up certain things that are part of this whole like movements lingo and like the inside jokes that have become part of it. And so part of it is tied to the metaphor of apes, bananas, and snakes. This is what it ties into in terms of the short and how this works. So when these companies shorted, they're the snakes. They asked to borrow 10. They saw these bananas. You had 5 bananas. They were currently valued at $2 each. So $10 total in this transaction. I owe you 5 bananas at $2, period. So I lent those out. Their bet is that banana is going to be worth $1. So I'm going to be able to flip that. I'm going to be able to turn around at some point when these bananas are worth $1, sell them, or I'm going to sell them right now for what they're worth, get that money. I got the $10, buy them back at $5 when they drop. And now I got your 5 bananas plus $5. That's all a short is. So what an attack on that looks like is the rest of the market, the rest of the apes looking and saying, all right, the snakes are trying to do that. We're going to buy up all the bananas. So at some point, you owe those 5 bananas. If we turn to you and go, they're 500 a pop now.
Right. And then
at some point, then that's what this attack is in very, very basic layman's terms. There's a lot more. I have some friends in finance that I've talked to and run a lot of this by and told them, tell me where I sound fucking stupid on. And there's a lot more complicated shit involved also. But basically, that is what it's called a short squeeze, is like the chess move like maneuver in finance that Reddit came together and said, you know what? Let's squeeze them because fuck them. And the reason why this was not seen from anywhere was because the financial world doesn't recognize there is no coefficient in their calculation of this is what a stock is worth that says, hey, everybody in the internet said, let's buy this. Now, you and me can understand the power of that. I would argue, and what I've argued to the people, especially older generations in the financial world, is if you back apply it, it always has. I think it has always mattered whether there was a measure of it on the internet live or not, what the public thinks of a company. There's no company ever that people view as shitty and they go, fuck them, that's what we are. Like, that's not what happens. You throw somebody out the door if you need to, in the sake of the company, the name. That's what you keep that intact and you do what you need to do. So I would argue it always has mattered, but there's never been a factor that says, hey, a bunch of people online are about to do this. So what happened was it worked, and it worked hard because the internet is an exponentially powerful force. It's not only powerful in terms of communication for our generation, because we as a generation, what we're learning in this is if millennials needed to go, okay, all millennials play the game of telephone and communicate something to each other. We know how to do it. Boomers, you know what they would do first? They'd pick up their phones and start calling people. Like, we are so much exponentially faster at communication as a whole than that generation that they don't even understand how to measure it. It's not processable. Like, oh, wait, you can tweet something and then it goes out to 1 million people retweeted. And then another, like, it doesn't process. So this attack caused GameStop to not only be short squeezed, but to be short squeezed to a point where it was on every news outlet fucking imaginable. My dad heard it on the radio on the way home. It went from $20 to $300 a share in 2.5, 3 days. Now, what that price meant, why, and here's what is cool about this, no matter what, because there's current negative, there's a lot of negative to this, that exposed and even just was implemented after the fact. But in the GameStop end, when that price soared, a lot of people essentially made away with millionaires' money, which was dope as fuck.
Yeah.
People's lives changed. Like, there's a lot of cool stories online about, you know, what people were able to directly do in their lives with it, which is awesome. So while this GameStop shit is happening, while it's getting reported, this is where kind of the circle, the whirlpool effect of, all right, who's hearing about this is where I jump in. On Twitter, as the GameStop thing is initially getting reported, the secondary target is kind of makes its way to my ear. The one that, all right, you want to be a part of that next one? This is the one that's susceptible based on analytics. Like, I consider I'm not great at finance. I've not very studied on it. I'm great with numbers naturally. Finance is its own language made to make you not understand it purposefully. That's literally what it is. But I am good at looking at like what the internet is spewing out and taking away what's actually going on. I think that's useful. Like, being able to use Twitter as like a newspaper, I think is very useful and important. And that's kind of where I picked up on it is, okay, AMC. So according to the swirlings of, all right, hey, this is Reddit's next plan of attack spreading there, AMC was also shorted at a really high rate, which again, movie theater, pandemic, logically, for the assholes that were trying to capitalize on this, makes sense. Now, on top of all this, what happened when the GameStop one started getting reported and the idea of shorting companies that had tried to capitalize on this was you had something different, another non-measurable thing in the finance world start popping up. And that was emotion, which matters in stock because not only me, I mean, this partially got personal for me, but it was more personal for a lot of people in terms of in 2008, which this is correlated with, these same hedge funds were bailed out in that bailout.
Right.
And essentially the other side of this investment was left out to dry. There were a lot of stories circulating online of people whose parents had put their college funds into these funds that were sold at they were told these are guaranteed funds, you know, this is guaranteed to increase, and they woke up one day and it was fucking zero. And they had no college fund. And since then they had to hustle, like literally change the course of their fucking life. So this got personal because people saw an opportunity, including me. Like, my dad worked at the Board of Trade, lost his job on the day I got picked up my freshman year of college, due to like just the way that now it's more online. There's naturally, it just cut human beings out of the process. But the entire world of it, I've always thought, was asinine. Like, the entire world of it is a language that's made for the common, even smart, good person with numbers to not understand and to not be able to win in is the more important thing. There's a level of people that are winning, and it is made to keep them winning. And if you're not already in that, you're a fucking idiot for stepping into it. You're stepping into a gauntlet that you're accepting your head is going to get chopped off in. And that is what this whole process has exposed. So I jump in, I see the AMC thing. I'm like, all right, AMC, the numbers made sense. The short percentages, upon my analysis of I'm good with charts, stats, that type of shit, made sense. So I said, fuck it. Fuck them, essentially. That's what this whole thing was a rally around, was fuck them. So here's where shit gets nuts. is I that day, and this is where I don't think anybody expected it to get to this level. I made phone calls. That's where I'm making phone calls like, hey, I'm hearing rumblings online. You know, if you got an extra, you know, obviously, again, with all this, I'm not a financial analyst. None of this is financial advice. Do not bet your money. Talk about me or Trey said shit about what you should do with it and talk to us, because we're not going to help you. But I, at this point, am telling people, hey, I'm hearing rumblings that to me seem legitimate online, that what you're seeing with GameStop is possible with AMC. It's not reported yet. It seems like something that you could, one, get in on to something, yes, making money, this is great. But two, we are saying fuck you to the correct people in this. And that is something to get behind if you have the money to gamble with. Because that's, again, what the stock market is being exposed as. It's a casino. It's a gamble. It is the same shit as a parlay. It is the same exact thing. And so I jump into this AMC thing. I'm telling people, this is last Wednesday night. I put in some more. This is how new to finance I am. I didn't even know with Robinhood and the ways we can now invest through apps that there was a close to the market even for us. I thought I can go on my app. All right, I'm buying AMC at 4 a.m. because I'm hearing this. Fuck it. That's not how it works. You put in an order when the market is closed. Normally, when you put in an order, you can set it to go for the market open and you get it at the open price. So what I wake up to is all my orders denied, which I'm like, okay, that's a little weird. They did that to everybody. And this is where Robinhood starts to play a very, very ironic role, especially considering their name in this. It's been pointed out a lot of times, but I cannot get over the fact that I've been on it for months because a while ago, I actually had a friend who we'll get into this because this plays a part, tell me to get into a cryptocurrency called Dogecoin, which is a part of this as well. I'll get into that. But I literally made Robinhood some months ago and was like, wow, this is cool. The fact that I can just hop on here and the idea is cool. The idea that I can get involved in this and win, because who the fuck is jumping into a gambling game that they're told is they're going to lose, is cool. So having been there, their literal slogan is what is it? It's like make investing democratic. So that's their whole spiel. And in this process, I wake up to, okay, you wouldn't let those through. So that's fishy. You have this person is picture this in terms of this person's holding your money. So now I'm like, all right, dude, what you doing? It's a little weird. You have my money. I told you to put it on that in the morning. Okay, you didn't. Fair enough. Whatever. Fishy, but okay. So I buy into it anyway. I'm like, fuck it. This AMC thing, there's no reason to doubt this. So I get into AMC. We start seeing the uptick. It's looking like it is working. What this proved was it was working. And so what starts happening in the financial world is people like me, retail investors, what we're called as a whole, start as a community for no predictable reason. No reason that any financial analyst went, GameStop stock is going to go up today. Start shooting GameStop stock up. Now AMC's stock up. Now, while AMC's stock is going up, what this means for the people that bet against it is they are directly losing money. Every inch it goes up is money that the person bet it's going to go down is going to have to buy it back at. Mm-hmm. So Thursday night, we're looking golden. Golden. We are participating in a revolutionary act. Like the idea, what's being executed is, go ahead. You guys on?
I wouldn't go that far.
I mean, well, because what's being executed,
it's not like everybody can get it. It's like the few who get on it early enough to actually like.
No. But what ended up happening?
They're getting over. Yeah, they're coming.
The wave that generated for AMC, because there were other stocks too. Like there was a next AMC and a next, like there became basically, oh wait, there are these line of stocks that we have discovered as a community. If we come together and invest in, we can directly not only fuck over people that were trying to drive those stores that we like out of business, but make money from them on top of it. An investment opportunity.
You don't think the people at the top, like, listen, it's cool right now, but the people at the top gonna switch shit up eventually.
And so
when they figure out that common folk is trying to.
But here's the thing, and here's the thing, and I completely understand the idea of, well, of course somebody's going to change the game type of, like, I get that. But the idea that the person in the middle should be able to be the person that does that, and everybody that's supposed to hold the market together stand by the side, is, if nothing else, and again, if this is what it was, cool. But if nothing else, it fully exposes the curtain for the first time in history on the full-on inner workings of where the retail investors' cap is. That's what it does. While for history they've been told, literally the SEC was made for the retail investor to have confidence in the market, to put their money in the market. Because in 1929, when it crashed, everybody was like, fuck you, I'm keeping my shit, because you lost everybody's money. So they were made to regulate that. So the idea that right now, currently in 2021, the SEC and Wall Street and the stocks and all this are there for anybody that isn't already rich to make money and not to lose money to somebody that's already rich is fully exposed, if nobody goes to jail and there's no lawsuits that go through, as a sham. Wall Street is, and I think it will monetarily take effect because our generation is not going to invest. I think that is a possible takeaway from this in the stock market. Now, cryptocurrency is a separate thing that plays from this. But let me get back to, before I get too far into that, the AMC debacle. Because Thursday night, what's essentially happening is, and this is why it is historic, because never before have individual investors been able to communicate faster than the brokerage, than the people that supposedly have the information. And that's why this is important, because we were able to circumnavigate and essentially make all the analysis not fucking matter, because we all went, we're buying it because we like it, fuck you. And that meant something it did. And so that started shooting the stock up. Now, the next day is when shit hit the fan. I wake up to a buy freeze on Robinhood. This didn't only apply to Robinhood. It's where it first hit, and it was the biggest impact. But what this means, just so people who weren't invested monetarily understand and can empathize with, if your money is there, what this company that, again, when you invested, you're investing based on free market. Free market trade is there's a buyer and there's a seller. It's a zero-sum game, and liquidity, which is just the movement of the money, shouldn't be an issue if you have my money and there's a person that's buying. Shouldn't matter. Now, a buy freeze on the retail investor, not on the on the people on the apps. This is key because you could still sell. Now, what that meant is, let's say just for sake of calculation, you bought into AMC at $10 and it was shooting up. You watched your 10 turn into 20. I watched the opening ticker the day they were about to not put these regulations out hit almost 25. And then they said, no, you can't buy. Now, if people were still willing to buy in the market at 25, that means it was going to go up to 26 and 27. That's naturally what was happening. Now, when you cut out the retail investor, you're cutting demand. When you cut demand for anything, what happens? Price goes down, period. So there's no way to go, well, we didn't know that it was going to drive your price down. So the idea and the CEO of Robinhood saying, well, we were protecting the retail investor. I am the retail investor that they were speaking about, that they are talking about protecting. And there is no way in fuck that you can tell me in a number that we were protected. It just doesn't make any sense.
They don't care about the common person. Like,
I
you guys don't
understand
make them the money. The major corporations bringing the money for that.
So that was not a known part of this. So here's where things get sticky for Robinhood. Is going to, mark my words, in 6 months, Robinhood will be non-existent. There is no chance. Vlad will probably be in jail, the CEO. And he doesn't even seem to have good answers right now, which is kind of the wild part. But what it seems like happened, and where the internet again was able to unveil what was going on, was, so when Robinhood froze things, that's when this became an amplified event. That's when the internet went, hold on, because essentially the internet as a whole had executed a successful chess move. That's what was going on. And then we woke up in the morning to a flipped chessboard. They went, you can't buy. If you have a position, you can sell at a loss. Like if you were selling because the stock price dove, and here's where I started to get mad for people, and here's where other people started to get mad for people, is if you were a family, if you were a person in a family that was on Twitter and saw this and said, okay, I'm getting in, and rightfully should have been making money in this, you were scared out of the market possibly when you watched the stock get dove. And the attempt was, I want that person to sell, so the people that shorted that eventually have to buy these back can buy it back at that cheap price that I have scared that person into, instead of paying the premium. So literally, in effect, taking money from that investor, the retail investor, and handing it to the rich person. No. Which, again, I understand the sentiment of, yes, it makes sense, but it's illegal. You can't just make an app for that. Like, you can't, that part is illegal. The idea that this could happen, I understand, is completely part of what the beast is. That's what we are fighting. But
Yeah.
the idea that Robinhood could play a part should have been the SEC or somebody legally should have been able or been required. Because here's the thing, unless you want the entire market to be undermined in terms of trust in it, is how can you take it seriously? How can anybody take that shit seriously if they can blatantly tank it, scare people into selling at a loss, give them no remands? Like, I still haven't sold because fuck them, and there's a lot of people like me. But for the people that have and already lost money on it, like, there's a measurable impact that the app that was designed apparently to allow the common person to, like, there's fraud on fraud on fraud on fraud. Like, that part should have been immediately, because it's in an active stock world, there should have been somebody that it sets off a trigger of, all right, somebody's manipulating it. It shouldn't fucking matter who it is. The fact that it was that blatant, there needs to be something, because this has already changed a few things about how the financial world will work. But
it's
that
been
part,
manipulated for decades. This is how
exactly,
shit's
that was our
ran.
point. That was our point, was that we were just doing what they had done.
Exactly.
That was what was happening, and we were beating them at their own game. Now, when Robinhood started to play a part in it, there is absolute, like, there's already class action lawsuits out the asshole with this guy. He had to do his rounds trying to save face on all the news networks, and it didn't go well at all. Like, I don't know who prepped him, but it didn't go well. But you had, and again, what I think was not prepared for, you had the rubber band effect of the internet, because I know myself, and I know that when somebody tells me not to do something or I can't do something, I want to do it. So my motivation to do it is more than monetary. It's beyond that. I want to do it because fuck what you tell me. That's just, I think it, again, is partially generational. I don't think everybody's like that, but we were raised on so much denial of our knowledge that I think there is a fuck you for telling me no mentality. So you bounced back that. So once Robinhood shut down their trades on one end, not only did it become Reddit and Twitter and the news, but now you had important people. That's I think where this took a turn to, is you had Mark Cuban, one of the, I mean, not only people that in terms of respect, I respect the most in terms of how he uses his platform, how he's gotten his money, how he moves, everything, but somebody who roots for the little guy. He wants the innovator to win. He wants innovation to win out. Elon Musk is another example. He might be an asshole at times, and his ethics are questionable, whatever. But the Elon Musks, again, Dave Portnoy, head of Barstool, whatever with all his shit. But he again got involved in a way that was hold on, this is wrong. This is wrong for the retail investor. You're screaming at them, we're helping you, and you're losing them money at no ability of them to stop it. AOC and Ted Cruz both at the same time fucking agreed on it. Like, people that don't even agree on shit were coming out going, yo, you can't do that. That's blatantly illegal. So once that happened, you had now a different, like, it took a different face. It became, okay, we're making a move to say fuck you to these millionaire type of people. This is definitely motivated by money for a lot of people. Like, obviously everybody in this wanted to make money. I think debatably, though, it was more about fuck you for 2008, fuck you for, it became a millennials versus the world type of thing. It became, we know how to use the internet. We used it right. We communicated correctly. We executed our moves with money, with our money, that we've made at a rate that you have fucking only hindered. Boomers, I tell my dad this all the time. Boomers graduated college with a house. We graduated college with a house of debt. That is the difference between where boomers have lived life and where millennials have lived life. Like, we have tried to fight for scraps and get to this level that when we were in elementary school, I remember being told in elementary school, yo, go to college, you good. That's it. Go to college, you're going to walk into, because that's the world they lived in. Boomers never learned to adapt. It all ties back. That is one of the biggest lessons in this, that I think millennials will learn to capitalize on is this idea that boomers were going to get away with never learning the fucking internet. And yes, in this battle, they may have squashed a big part of what we are trying to do, but we 100% proved that essentially the internet is a domain where millennials can squash boomers, even financially, even in their world. They had to change the game to even the playing field,
which they will continue to do.
Which
Because rich old white people don't play about their money.
Yeah, but they're dying quicker than us.
This is the one time.
But again,
they're gonna switch it up now. Like I don't see this continuing.
If nothing else, because that's where I'll leave part of it. There's still more to speak on in that. But if nothing else, to where we got there, not only revealed a lot of things about the investment world, not only revealed a lot about Robinhood, but it got to this point where it showed that the internet in a mass unison voice behind something can, with money and collectively, be an investment force. That is a revelation. And
I mean, we'll see if that's the truth.
It happened though. And here, so here's where part of it plays out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it showed that. I think it showed that things like finance and for a long time, I don't know about you, I've had a lot of conversations about finance before this with people because I'm good with numbers. I always have been. Statistics, calculus, that type of shit. Finance is not that. Finance is a language, and it's purposefully muddled. And I've realized this because I'm good at numbers. I've gone, wait a minute. I logically can keep track of most equations, most things. And finance is made to this degree that the people that know it can keep understanding it. And if you learn it, there's a way to trick you back into getting down to your place. You can never go into the revolving door and end up where they are. That is not an exit. They want you to, that's the whole idea, is you're going to step in this revolving door and you're going to end up where they are. There is not an exit there. And that's what this has fully revealed. I think people have like understood that, but this revealed that even if you find an investment opportunity, because that's essentially what this was. I found an investment opportunity that without any restrictions would have made me money. The amount isn't important. Like money was never important in it to me, but the idea that could have worked on that level scale with a bunch of people switching hands monetarily from millionaires to millennials, like the fact that should have happened is something that is baffling that somebody could step in the way of when it was in progress to me. Like that's the part where I'm like, yo.
Oh, it's not bad. This is America, man. They're not gonna have it be even like that forever.
I guess the fact that it could be so blatant, the fact that they could just go, you can't buy this anymore.
Yeah.
Is I mean, we'll see if they can, quote unquote, because there's already class action lawsuits out the ass. I'm on all those motherfuckers. I figured out how to get through to the SEC and get some calls into people there and blatantly ask them how the fuck is this legal. No one has been able to tell me. So I'm at least gonna pressure them. I think a lot of people are now. Basically, there's no trust in anything on that end that's going on, and that's what makes this difficult. Is after seeing, okay, there was a period of time where, if nothing else, the short sellers got to catch up. That's what got to happen. If nothing else, they got to squeeze out and get out when they should have had to get out at a high price. And we lost money, fake. It's not real money until you sell it, but you lost investment money in the process if you had paid at that price. So that whole process, I think there's going to be lawsuits that end up going through. I don't see any way Robinhood gets away with that. It ended up being other apps and shit too. At some point, Cash App restricted it too. And their explanation was that the clearinghouse, which is just the middle person that says, yeah, these trades are good to go through, said that they did not have enough money to prove that they had the money for the actual investment. The clearinghouse, ironically, for Robinhood is Melvin Capital, which they own 47% stake. All of this is available online. And they concurrently were one of the shorters on GameStop that were losing money. it's been I think it got reported that they lost 53% of their total company's earnings
Yeah.
in the short. So just the company that owns and invests in 47% of Robinhood is the company that is bleeding from the investments from me
Yeah.
and the other people on Robinhood. And they are
Mhm.
also the person that gets to apparently decide if the game keeps going. Now, to accept that that isn't fishy as fuck is to ask me to be a fucking idiot. I don't
That's
see
just
any
how
other way
this
around
is
that.
how this
That's where
country is
I
ran.
get mad. Is like, how fucking stupid do they think people like me are? That's where I
But
get
it's
mad.
not
Where I'm
it's
like, I'm gonna hold this shit till I die if I need to,
but that's
just to
just
say
how this
fuck you.
country is ran, Blake. This is America is a corporation. It's not a country. Big business runs everything.
Capitalism is evil. I've
Politics,
been saying it's
everything.
not like I don't agree with these things.
You know
I
what I'm
just
saying? Like
I was okay with losing whatever I put in to prove the point ultimately that you literally will not let us win. Because when we all put our shit in, we went, they might do some wild shit unprecedentedly to prevent us from winning in this if they're
which
losing
they
that much
will.
money,
They
which they
will.
did. Now, Robinhood is going to be, I think, the person that ends up biting the brunt of the bullet on a lot of it because of being
Yeah.
the middleman for it.
Mhm.
I don't know that they ended up having a choice. A lot of us don't know exactly what happened, but it smells bad, and you're going to have a lot of anger that's not going anywhere. And that's where I think they're not measured in this in terms of I cannot tell you if the short squeeze on AMC still works. I don't think any of us know. I think at this point, I've also been checking on Reddit. This is how far these boomers have gone: is they infiltrated Reddit. They've probably hired millennials that work there to go in and make fake accounts to try and say, "Oh my God, I'm selling. I'm panicking on AMC, guys." It's so whatever they can do to muddle the waters. Which again, to me, this is all. You haven't watched Game of Thrones. I don't know if you've watched any shows that gave you a good visual on how battles in a war play out individually. This feels like a one battle. Feels like a one battle overall. And what happened here? If my loss is the financial shit you put in, and they were scrambling like this and have all these questions to answer and have a generation questioning the market that they are trying to say is legitimate, to me, it feels like we're winning. We're not the ones scrambling to change the game. We made one good move and doubled down on it, and they are panicking and panicking and panicking. So to me, it feels like a one battle. Is it a war that's
Man,
winnable? I don't fucking know. Is the war against
probably
capitalism winnable? That's another podcast. But
probably not. In
but
short.
but does it take some balls to step on the battlefield against it? Yes. So to me and all the other people that have been in on this, if nothing else, we were part of that, and it's cool as fuck.
Yeah,
Not only
yeah.
seeing because that to me, I told my dad was like, if you lose all this shit, what are you gonna do? And I was like, honestly, if you would have told me like a week and a half ago, for the money you put into this, you could go on this fucking roller coaster ride where you're gonna wake up and see the whole market's froze and just all this shit, I probably would have done it. My adrenaline, but this has been phenomenal. This is the best reality television I could have ever asked for. So did you see the Wolf
Well,
of Wall Street? The real Wolf of Wall Street made a video. Did you see that shit?
no.
Oh man, I'm gonna show you that shit. He made a video that used footage from the movie, the famous scene where Leo's pumping him up to tell us to hold the line, that he's with us. You had Mark Cuban, who went on Reddit to answer questions to try and help people that are still in what we should do, which he said if he was in at this point, he would hold the fucking line. At this point, that's what you do. And you hope that these shorts still have to. So the fact that you have Mark Cuban hopping on Reddit, Elon Musk is tweeting about it, and he did an interview on Clubhouse with the CEO of Robinhood and grilled him like, yes, that sentence just came out of my mouth. This is the most 2021 fucking scenario. This is where we're at. But so just to see like the outcrying of support at what we were doing, like it felt like being part. It felt like another version of other movement type things I've been a part of in a definitely a completely different way. And like it was the most. It felt the most like rebellious millennial of all of them. It was a bunch of fuck you, don't tell me what to do people that also had a personal vendetta, probably against the financial institutions, that have fucked millennials in general. I feel like as a millennial, even somebody that's hustled and had a whole bunch of different jobs where I've had to do shit for a boomer that didn't want to learn shit. Like, we have gotten the brunt end of so many ends of the economic system and been told we haven't. I think that's the worst part is you don't hear boomers and the older generations ever really talk. You just hear them, oh, millennials complain. Like, we've had no semblance of financial freedom or anything as a generation. And this felt like, to me at least, the best way to at least be a headache for somebody. At least. And I enjoy that shit. So if nothing else, it's that. Now, could this still be a good financial investment? With the AMC short, I have no fucking idea. I'm still holding. You will bury me, Robinhood, with those goddamn stocks before I will sell them at a loss after what you did to them. Fuck any financial that's where they cannot measure what's going to go on with these stocks. Is I'm not the only person that thinks that, and every analysis you're going to see put out goes, well, people are going to go, it's worth this and it's going to be worth this. I don't give a fuck what it's worth, because fuck you, you said not to sell it, or not to buy it and to sell it. So now pry it from my dead cold hands. And that's how a lot of us feel. I think that's where a lot of this comes down to. And at the end of the day, that can move a market. And that's a big realization, I think, in terms of, I mean, it'll have its financial impacts. I think shorting in general is a practice for the most part that, from people that understand finance better than me, I've heard it does have a good part to play too. But from that end of driving companies into the ground, it's literally un-American. Like, this idea of American building up companies, it's the opposite. It is, if a company's struggling in a pandemic, there should be incentive to help it, to invest in it and build it up, versus liquidate it and steal its money and invest that money into stealing somebody else's money. I think that is one fundamental thing that we are now going to be able to discuss and go, okay, as America, that shouldn't be a thing. It just shouldn't be.
That's the American way, though.
But I think, and again, I think partially with the turning over of the actual politicians and we have, you have Democrats running everything, I think is going to only help all of this. I don't think it like ensures anything, but I think a lot of conversations are on the fucking table now that we're not. You had today on Twitter, erase student debt was trending completely. No debates in between, no amount. Erase that shit. I think certain conversations
for that.
I think so. Well, I think the fact that that's a conversation shows that this idea that, well, no, because it's worked this way before, is going to no longer be as much of an answer. I think we're going to have to, if you don't have a logical, reasonable answer for certain things, I think there's enough of a voice that can now be garnered from people screaming it, that can actually force things. And I think even like when you need to force a politician out of office, what do? Trend it on Twitter. When you want a policeman to be held accountable, trend it on. I think everything has to do with it's essentially a artificial way of getting everybody onto the street screaming something. And I think that's what changes things. So I think this has shown.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's just trending for a few hours and then it goes away.
Maybe, yes, that's true. You know what I mean? But I think in terms of if you're going to make this again like a metaphorical war, and one side is the internet and one side is anything else, I want to have the internet behind me. I do. The internet wins. It just does. One way or the other, it does. There are a lot of smart motherfuckers on there. I would argue the smartest human beings are the ones that would be on the side of the internet, because at the end of the day, it's the side of innovation. It's the side of the future. It just is. So all of this ties together in a, I think, did you read that article I sent you?
No.
So, or CoinDesk, it's on here. But essentially, it's talking about how this is a changing of the guard in investment in general. And a couple lines in here that I really like and I think highlights exactly what this is about on the non-financial level, just what this is about. It says they've read takes painting the leaders of this charge as misfits. That condescension itself is part of the problem. Like, the idea that this, and I've seen certain financial analysts admit it, that this wasn't a genius move in a financial way is, and the idea that, oh, you're trying to game the system because you don't want to learn it, is exactly the condescending type problem that I think this was rooted in. Like if you don't have that, I think there's an interesting world if you just let this all roll. If you had not shut down the buying and you said, okay, we're going to let these people fuck over the shorters I'm at. They're going to get their fun and it's going to be out of their systems. I don't think you have this fucking tsunami of rage now that you now have at not only the financial end, but the end of we were executing something that was smart. And now you cut it off from the bottom illegally and are trying to turn around and go, see, it wasn't smart. We told you so. And that's not true. Like, it was smart. You made it not smart by changing everything. And you're just trying to make it seem like challenging that is not smart when the move itself was totally within the parameters of everything going on. So the idea to condescendingly call, like I saw it on news while it was happening, like, oh, these Redditors that are trying to, you know, screw everybody's money up, misfits, like spray painting on the fucking walls. Like, no, this was a calculated move by people a lot smarter than me, the people that started this and the people that actually got GameStop's price level up there and shit. Like, the idea that this should be looked down on in any type of way, and that this was that they were misfits. Like, that's, it's such a just demeaning, like it applies no level of cognition. And I think that was probably initially what everybody thought this was. You think that plays a part in it?
Yeah, I mean, but they are misfits because they're not traditional, you know, wear the suit and tie, work on Wall Street, the people who are usually in the know of the financial world. They're just regular people who saw a chance to come up and execute the plan to perfection. And they did exactly that, and they came up.
Yeah, and I think that at the end of the day, like, knowing that the GameStop one worked and that the AMC one was in the exact same part of the process, and barring the rug being pulled out, looks like it would have been another shot like that, just shows you that, again, like, the fact that we communicated this and had, like, I picture it, Game of Thrones has taught me how to picture all these war things, and I just picture it as such a well coordinated for a group that has never met each other, like I've never even communicated with them. I'm not even involved in Reddit. I don't even have Twitter anymore where I externally communicate. I was just moving my finances and, you know, testing the waters and seeing on social media where I thought shit was at. But seeing what I think we're capable of when we do that is pretty fucking wild. I think that is probably the coolest, like, what if to me now of all.
I don't know how sustainable this is.
Maybe not in a
finance.
finance.
Or like trying to change.
I think this is probably the most difficult. Like this was using the internet to take them on in their domain. This in no way is the world of finance and Wall Street a millennial investor's domain. That is the most our domain it gets. And we made our attack on the best front that we could have. Like, the internet, I think what has also been revealed in this is a place where boomers, I think, have held back a lot of society. I think we can statistically look at that with presidential elections, with who's on what side of societal issues. I think there's a lot of fucking banging boomers' heads against the wall of, hey, realize this is an issue and vote like it so we can move forward. And I think this has flipped the table a little bit in terms of, hey, we are now in control in the masses. We now have mass control to demand and move certain things. And you should be concerned about that. Like, I think now if a financial institution like a hedge fund who is betting against a brick and mortar store like GameStop during a pandemic, which sounds like the most guaranteed short investment for those assholes they ever thought they were walking into. If we can take them on in a domain like that and make them bleed enough where they ever had to go change the game up, then I think there's a lot of other shit we can demand and probably change. And just immediately go, yeah, no, we want it that way So we're going to navigate and communicate on the internet how to execute, whether it's, we executed this in the financial world. We can move money together. What doors does that open? Okay, well, we want to get this person elected over here. Okay, well, now we've learned we can collectively do different. There's just a lot more navigating that we can do, but I think the key is one that we can do that they cannot do. Like, I think this week you probably had more boomers asking millennials how to use Twitter and how to use Reddit and how to use all these things than you ever have before, because they realized it mattered for their pockets. But they're about 10 years behind. This is not a world. If you've ever watched a boomer try to learn how to use Twitter or anything like that, that has never used, you can't just jump from Internet Explorer to Reddit. You'll get lost. You don't even know where you are. Like you're lost forever if that happens to you. You have to comprehend things about how to navigate Twitter and how to realize what's bullshit and what's not. Like, so they are just behind. It essentially is a world where we flip the lights off on them. And I think now we know that. So I think that's valuable. I think if nothing else in all of this, we've realized, all right, if we as millennials that know how to communicate instantaneously on here come together and want a singular act through the internet and have means to do it, we can execute certain things. I think that's important.
Yeah.
I think that'll be something that plays out in other ways in the future. Even if this itself isn't the place where it manifests, I think now, one, stock market wise, we are not a generation that's going to give a fuck about that. And two, with the communication aspect, that will now, it now is going to become something we use as a generational tool. I think now we're slowly learning, all right, that's a front we can fight battles on and win, versus like I read a lot of comparisons to Occupy Wall Street with this. And that was a physical, we're going to go stand and occupy this space. And I think we've learned that we're more powerful doing it in different ways. I think we've learned we're more powerful occupying the internet, occupy online communication about something. And you can kind of turn people to, so I think it will play out in certain ways. I think it'll be a tool in this whole battle of, all right, millennials want certain things that boomers are fighting against overall. How the fuck do we get there? So I lost count this week of the number of mainstream commentators who sputtered about fundamentals and how the price shouldn't move so much when GameStop situation hasn't changed, which people were like, it's $300 a share. That's not what the company's worth. It doesn't matter, and it never has. Stock is just like, I compared it to like buying shoes. If we found out a shoe drop was happening tomorrow, there's 100 of them, and it's worth $150 at the drop, and I ask you, Trey, how much is this shoe worth? That's a subjective ass question, because somebody's going to pay $10,000 for that fucking shoe.
Yep.
This situation with the shorts was just knowing somebody has to buy this back at a price. So once you're playing that game, it doesn't fucking matter. This could have been a stock of bananas. We didn't give a fuck. Somebody owed money on it that we wanted to, like, that's how it worked. So this idea that you've been told and I've been told forever, that the stock market, you have to do all this calculation and all these fundamentals is horseshit. It's been tied to horseshit, but this proves it. And the way they put it in here is fucking beautiful. They said the price shouldn't move so much when GameStop situation hasn't changed. They're wrong. Whether the stock is currently overvalued or undervalued, I have no opinion. The company situation and fundamentals have changed. One, there's the massive publicity. Two, aside from the potential future revenue from selling games, there's probably a merchandising opportunity through branded mugs and pitchforks. Three, there's a groundswell of support for the share price. Only this is not a traditionally considered worthy consideration in asset evaluation. It should be. In other words, public sentiment for a company is a coefficient of stocks, period. Yeah. Which it'll remeasure how stocks are looked at for their future earnings, I think, for their current earnings. I think it'll rewrite textbooks. I think for anybody who has looked at the world of finance and said, this doesn't logically make sense, there's things missing, this appeases some things, because that sounds, I could have told you, and I've said this before, if you backtrace that, if we get a coefficient where, like Yelp, we're now on stocks, this company's public perception's at an 8, a 9, whatever it is, I guarantee you if you backtrace stocks, it correlates. There's no way it doesn't. So it never hasn't been. It's just now we're realizing it because of the internet. So I think that's another aspect. There's a ton of different takeaways from it. I don't know where it ends. I don't know where it's going at this point. We're sitting at the point where now the AMC share price, along with all the other ones, the Reddit stocks, are coming down, potentially being short laddered, it's called, by the hedge funds, which is a whole nother thing. So we don't know what the fuck's going on. Reddit's being infiltrated, so we don't know who's real there. There's this has become a giant fucking shit show. The movie on Netflix on this is going to be absolutely phenomenal. All I ask is that I play myself or they cast Seth Rogen. That's the only other option, I think, for me. But all in all, this has been a wild week that I did not ever plan on being a part of. The stress levels have been. I now know what it's like to have money tied up with somebody that you wake up and they just have rules set to your money. Like, that's one of the most enraging things I think anybody could experience. I want everybody to experience that one time. It's like, have somebody tell you they're gonna do some shit with your money and then wake up and then they're like, yeah, no, sorry. Like, that shit.
Yeah.
But to know, to like look on Reddit and see like all the reactions and just see where everybody's at. I'm far from alone on this. There's a lot of motherfuckers that are still holding and going, fuck it, we're riding this out. So that's where I'm at in it. And I'm going to keep riding it out and we'll see where this train lands. And if nothing else, this was a wild ass ticket, the wild ass ticket to be on. I'm not sure what you got for me. That is probably the most, like, I think this is in terms of things I've participated in, the biggest magnitude level, like taking on financial institutions actively, like from my fucking room here, was an insane feeling. Like, knowing as I'm even reinvesting in AMC, like when they're trying to get me to sell, I'm like, fuck you, buy at the dips, bitch. Like, knowing that that's what the game we're playing is a fucking wild feeling. And just watching the news, watching institutions change around like the moves you're making, even at my minuscule ass investment levels, is bonkers. Like, it was fucking crazy. So I don't know what we take away from this besides, I think those things are I mean, big apply outside financial world things, and then we'll see where it lands me.
Yeah, it's been cool to watch from afar, just seeing everybody's sudden interest and sudden, ability to, not only take action and say fuck you to the man, but make a little change in the process. So I'm not putting my money in it. I feel like it's too late for me and it's a little too risky for my money, for my blood. But hey, more power to everybody out there fighting the fight. I'm proletariat, so keep on keeping on.
Amen. Thank you. We appreciate the support. So for all y'all that didn't necessarily understand the entirety of what was going on with this, I hope that helps a little bit for anybody that was partially invested, got in, got out, whatever, played any part in this, was rooting for us, is currently watching to try and see what the fuck happens. I hope that catches you up at least a little bit and makes you recognize too, like, at the end of the day with this, what I will not allow to be the narrative is that, like, oh, this is why the people that said you should learn the financial institution and we analyze the stock and this squeeze won't work were right. Because that is not at all what happened. And the fact that it got shut off in the way it did, I think, is already the shining of the light that I think a lot of people were aiming at in this. So cool to be a part of this shit. I hope at the end of the day we end up making money on it. That'd be dope. And then at the end, if that happens with a bunch of people, we could all see each other in the bars, and those would be the best tasting drinks we all ever had, because they'd be straight out of some millionaires' pockets. So that's the dream that I'm hoping for here. We'll see if it rides out that way. But if not, good for the people that made out on GameStop. That shit is still, that shit worked. Like, that one worked. The other one, did they undercut it? We shall see. But at the end of the day, the internet won. I think it's a big one for the internet and a 0 for the opposers. And I think that's the biggest takeaway I think everybody needs to have is don't be on the wrong side of the internet, because it's a growing force that's only getting stronger, and people are only learning how to unite on it day by day. And it's going to be interesting. It made its way into our financial institutions. I don't know if that probably would have been the last place I would have guessed. Like if you would have told me, hey, there's going to be a coalition of people on the internet that cause this huge fucking booming story. I mean, there are a million places I would have predicted this before Wall Street. So kudos to the people that figured this out from the get-go. I mean, everybody that got this going. The original guy that apparently now is going to have to testify to Congress had a $55,000 GameStop investment that it went from like 20 something to 200. So he was sitting on 13 million, held there, watched it go up to 26 million, held there, and now it's down to like a couple million, if that, and is still holding like a champ. That man watched all those mills, Trey, and held like a champ. How can I sell? How can I sell? How can I sell when that man is at the front of the army, Jon Snow, letting all his shit get chopped off? What am I going to do? Put my sword down? Hell no. We're out here.